Participants may mute your mic. There is some noise.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. This is Ashwini here. I'm basically a software engineer working in Infosys Technologies Limited, Bangalore. So today I'll be talking about the different cybersecurity concepts which we handle in IT sector. So this is a slide overview. First, we'll be going through the introduction, a basic scenario, what cybersecurity is, why cybersecurity is used, what are the type of cyber attacks, how it works, and the domains of cybersecurity. So first, let us discuss a basic scenario. I'll go through a basic scenario in an IT sector. Like in an office one day, Quinn Cook, he is working on a particular financial data. He's following his daily routine, working on his computer, trying to crunch some numbers and going through her data. But in the background, without his knowledge, there is a hacker who is trying to access the data, like the confidential files, which is created by Quinn on his computer. So what this hacker is trying to do is, he's through a vulnerability, he's trying to access those files, and he or she is trying to transfer those files back to his computer. So what can happen due to this? There is a loss to the company due to this. Since the confidential data is being transferred from the developer to the hacker, there is a loss to the company reputation, loss of data, a leakage of data, legal litigation might take place to the organization. There may be industrial espionage. So these are the impacts which can happen due to this. And even the company can be asked to pay some ransom for having this confidential data by the hacker. So anything can be possible, or even he can sell those information to the criminals. So it is a very bad scenario if a hacker gets access to the company's secrets. So to start off with, we'll try to go through these basic concepts. So first thing is, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is a technology, an architecture, or a design that is designed to protect the networks and devices from attack or a damage or unauthorized access by an unauthorized person. So it is very important that we secure our network through various parameters or through various safeguard mechanisms. So what are the advantages of having cybersecurity? The first is protection of your business. As an organization, we would be dealing with multiple applications, or we would be handling multiple applications. And a customer or a client would come to us requesting to develop a particular web application. So it is our responsibility to protect the confidential data of that particular organization. So it is very important that you secure that particular web application for protection of your business. The next one is increased productivity. So once a particular client has will get will get to know that you are giving better security for the particular web application, your productivity will also get increased. So they will approach you, more clients will approach you. It inspires the customer confidence. So the more customers will approach to you, so it will inspire the confidence. And the next one is, it stops your website from crashing. And protection of your customers and clients, as discussed before. So why cybersecurity? So there are three main pillars to cybersecurity. Since the inception of computers has started, there are three main pillars which serves as the industry standard model for maintaining the cybersecurity. They are CIA, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's also called as the CIA triad. So if we want to make our data intact or available to the customer, these three aspects has to be secured. So the first one is confidentiality. So the principle of confidentiality asserts that the information and functions can be accessed only by authorized parties. For example, the military secrets. There can be many military operations which has to be secured, and it does not have any spy cannot access to those confidential information. So in order to prevent other user from trying to access or spying into your data, it is very confidential to keep these files confidential. And the passwords which are related to these data has to be shared only to authorized persons. The principles of integrity assert that information and functions can be added, altered, or removed only by authorized people and means. This is where it will come into picture, where suppose if any data gets changed, like example, a spreadsheet which has a lot of information. When we develop a web application, we'll be storing the particular web application URL and its username and password details in a spreadsheet or an Excel sheet. So it is very important that we maintain the integrity of this particular data, so that the data is not being modified by any unauthorized user, so that we are going to verify that the information is stable and secure. So moving on to the next part, that is the availability. So this is the principles of availability assert that systems, functions, and data must be available on demand according to the agreed upon parameters based on the different levels of service. So this data is made available to all authorized users when and where they want to access this data. So the principles of availability assert that there is a service level agreement based on which the user should be having the access to that particular service whenever it is available. For example, we can consider as Gmail. So whenever we want to access our email, when we type gmail.com, we make sure that we will be able to access that particular service. So that is known as availability. So now whenever the threat happens to the CIA, then we have two types of crimes which happen, that is cybercrime and hacking. So cybercrime is any criminal activity or any unauthorized activity that would involve the usage of any device which is being corrupted, and it would result as a security incident on the victim's end. So we have the other type is a hacking. So hacking is like a person who is trying to access your personal information, where most cyber crimes are carried out in order to generate profit from them. So the cyber criminals would do phishing attacks to take hold of your personal details, maybe the sensitive information like your bank accounts. So all those are sensitive information the hacker might try to access. So it is very essential to protect your sensitive information. So cybercrimes are usually carried out against the computers or devices. So this is usually done to cause damage or to demand for some ransom to be paid to the criminals. So these are the threats to cybercrime. Cybercrime is any criminal activity that involves a computer, network device, or a network. And most cybercrimes are carried out in order to generate profits for the cyber criminals. Cybercrimes are carried out against computers or devices which directly damage or disable them, spread some malware, steal secret information, etc. So it's very essential to take care of this. So now let us consider a business scenario. We have a business scenario where a person is accessing a particular web application, and he is trying to save the username and password. So it is very important to secure this particular password by using encryption and decryption mechanisms. So in an IT sector, the basic scenario is which what happens is that a particular client would approach a particular company asking to develop a particular web application. So whenever this web application is being developed, there are different phases which is being involved. That is, we have different phases called as the software development life cycle, known as the SDLC life cycle. So in this SDLC life cycle, we have different phases like requirement gathering and analysis, which includes the design, and then we have next is the coding, and then the which includes the development, and then we have the testing, which includes different types of testing, and then the last part is the deployment and making it available to the customers. So first thing what happens is that currently I'm working on a retail application where this retail application is based on a major shopping site, where it's like something like a DMart or something called a big bazaar, where people purchase different sort of daily items, and then they once they purchase these items, they add it to the shopping cart, and then they go to the once they check out, they pay the amount through different methods, maybe the credit card or through cash or the debit card, and then they move out of the stores. So it is our responsibility that we develop a particular web application which is secure, and it does not allow any other hacker to hack the personal information of the customers, or does not hack the amount which is being taken by the stores. So what we are following is, like, first the client will approach us and they will mention what sort of a web application they need. So first is we have a design phase. So in the design phase, we have a them the clients will mention what sort of a web application they need. They'll mention all their requirements. So then we have a requirement phase where we will gather all the requirements, like what sort of how the web page should look like, how the items will be categorized, and when we add those items, how the button should look like the add to cart button or the submit button, and once you check out, what are the different payment methods which should be available. So all these requirements will be provided by the client. So based on that, we'll make a note of it, and we'll do a requirement analysis, and then we prepare a document. So in the document, we'll write down all the requirements. We make some flow charts to understand how the flow should look like and all, and then we send it back to the client. So the client will go through the requirements, and if there is any misunderstanding in the requirements, they will correct it, and then once then it is being signed off by both the parties, maybe the client and the organization who is developing that particular web application. So once it is being signed off, they also ensure that the security part is also being handled in the application. So once all that is done, then the development phase will start. So before the development phase, there will be a meeting where they will assign the different tasks. They'll cut down the tasks into different small parts, and they will assign it to different teams, and then the development team will start working based on the requirement document. So once the development is completed, then we have different tools to ensure the security. So like we have a tool called as Fortify tool, which is provided by HP. There's one more tool provided by IBM called AppScan. So what we do is, once the development is complete, we upload this code in the particular tool, and the tool will scan the code, and if there are any security vulnerabilities, it will show in that particular line that this line of code has a particular security vulnerability. So once we get those different types of issues, and we'll provide the fixes for those issues, and again we'll run the scan to see that there are no more such security vulnerabilities in the code which we have developed. And once all those issues are done, then we start with the testing. So basically, we'll be having the unit testing, and then integration testing, which will test the entire flow, regression testing, quality testing, and then the security testing. So once all this is done, once we have a stable application which is secure and it is working as per the functionality mentioned by the client, then we move it to the production, which is known as making it available to the customers. So this is how the security part is being handled in a particular web application in an IT sector. So moving on to the next concept, the types of cyber crimes. There are three types of cyber crimes. First one is the computer assisted cyber crimes, where a computer is being used to perform the criminal activities. Okay, and they are used as criminal activities are carried out using computers as mere tools and not specific to computers. Example, like the frauds which are being carried out on a computer system. The next one is computer as a target crime. Here, the criminal activities focused on systems, servers, or networks, and the data which are stored on these systems. It may be the sniffing or the viruses. Then the third one is computer which is incidental to the crime. Means the computer is being used as a temporary measure to steer some data or store some data, such as child trafficking and all that. So mainly this cybercrime will have some motive. So like, let us look at the motives behind cybercrime. Hello, hello. So let's carry on. Let's look at the motives behind cybercrime. The first one is disrupting business continuity. So there might be scenario when such cyber crimes happen in a particular organization, the business continuity might get disrupted. So this is a motive. This is the first and foremost motive behind any cybercrime. Next is the information theft and manipulating data. So manipulating data would be done to gain the information about sensitive information. Criminals would try to access your computer to steal your data that has value to you and your organization, to sell it or to make it public, and you would act as you would be suffering a financial loss because the data is no longer of any value to you or to your organization or to the client. So this is also a major threat. The next one is creating fear and chaos by disrupting the critical infrastructure. That is, once your service gets down, it might create fears and chaos. So, which might, like the example, like the company's infrastructure might crash or a particular web application might crash. This would create a serious vulnerability. So, which is no longer available to the organization. So, people might start panicking about the issue, and finally this will lead to chaos in the organization. Next we have the financial loss to the target. That is like the denial of service attack to any organization, which is going to create a serious concern, and it is not company may not be functioning, and this would incur a huge loss to the company, and they may have to pay some amount to their clients or the customers. Achieving straight military objectives. So, one country might try to spy the military details by capturing the information. So, cybersecurity is very much important in this area as well. Demanding ransom. Sometimes the attacker might take control of your data, and then they might ask for some amount. They might demand for a huge amount called demanding ransom. So this is also a very bad scenario. Uh, Next is damaging the reputation of the target. Since if we are not able to provide a good security to the application, it might damage the reputation to your company, and you might not get any more clients, and and hence there will be huge loss to the company. Next, propagating religious or political beliefs. There might be scenarios where they try to promote some religious or political beliefs, trying to create more followers and creating unrest in the entire world. So these are the different types of motives behind cybercrime. So it can be any scenario, or people might be also doing something like kiddie script. So where they might be doing this for fun, like they might try to hack a particular application just for fun to learn like how it works. So any motive can be there behind all of these scenarios. So let us see the different types of hackers. The first one is the black hat. Black hat are the individuals with extraordinary computing skills, resorting to malicious or destructive activities. These are the criminals who are trying to hack with malicious intent to the victim organization. Next, we have the gray hat, individuals who work both offensively and defensively at various times. That is, they could work as a black hat hacker with malicious intent and also try to harm some organization. On the other hand, they can be in defensively working to to be working as a analyst sort of a person who will try to enhance the security of that particular organization. So they can act in both the ways. Next is we have the white hat, where the individual professing hacker skills and they use them for defensive purposes, known as a security analyst. So they are mainly used for defensive purposes, where they try to provide security to the organization. Next, we have the next type we have is the suicide attacker, where individuals who claim to bring down the critical infrastructure for a cause and not worried about facing any jail terms or any punishment. So these are the this can be an organization or a group of people, having some political cause or some social cause, and they want to promote them. So by doing such hacking of the critical secure organization infrastructure, or by hacking their particular web application and uh, uh, promoting some messages, so such activities has to be controlled. So the major difference between a black hat hacker and a suicide hacker is that a black hat hacker will have some fake identity, like he will not reveal his identity, whereas a suicide hacker, he will claim responsible for that particular act, and he will not worry about facing any consequences for this. Next, we have the next type is a script kiddie, where an unskilled hacker who compromises the system by running some scripts, tools, and software developed by real hackers. So these kind of people can be doing this just for fun, sort of. Next, we have the cyber terrorists. These are the individuals with wide range of skills, motivated by religious or political beliefs to create fear by large-scale disruption of computer networks. So these are the persons where, through which they have a lot of skills to attack a particular organization. So now let us consider a basic scenario.
Ma'am, there is no audio in the video itself. Yes, ma'am, no voice.
Hello. So this was the six layer protection which was being provided in Google Cloud Data Center. I hope this video was informative. So moving on to the next concept. So let us see the different common types of attacks and attacks. The first one is the denial of service attack. This is merely where the services will not be available to the customers and hence it would be affecting the business. Then we have the malware attack, where a malicious software would be delivered in the form of a Trojan or a Trojan or a worm or a virus to the particular victim. So thus it would infect the victim's machine and hence rendering the particular machine to be useless. The third and the fourth is a man in the middle and the phishing attack. So a man in the middle is like a person, a hacker he is making himself available in between your machine and the router, and he'll start sniffing the data packets of that particular machine. So he'll try to compromise the information which is contained in these data packets. And the next one is a phishing attack, where the hacker will send a legitimate email. Like the email, you'll consider that the email has been obtained from a secure organization, and you would try to perform some activities like there will be mentioned like in an email saying you can try to enter the link and you'll be providing us sensitive information. So once you click that link, it would redirect to the fisher's account where he'll get all the sensitive details of that particular customer. So this is the next type of attack where you'll be getting an email and you'll be asked to perform certain activities where the organization will end up putting your confidential information. Then we have the drive-by attack and the cross-site scripting attack. So here, like as I mentioned, in the development phase, we have the different security scans which are to be done. So here we come across this cross-site scripting attack, where if we have a web application and we have a script where the hacker can include some scripts or commands embedded in the particular web application, which will send the sensitive information to the hacker through this cross-site scripting attack. Next is a password attack, where the hackers will try to compromise the password of the user. So it is essential that we encrypt a particular password when we store it in some Excel sheet or in some notepad sort of a files. So they can do the hacking by using a password guessing or brute force mechanism. Next, we have the eavesdropping attack, where someone would overhear whatever you're saying, or they would try to capture the data packets that contain your voice, maybe like a Skype call or a VoIP call or a link based call, where they will try to capture the voice and then they will overhear your information, confidential talk between you and your customer. Next, we have the SQL injection attack, where malicious queries could be sent, and this will compromise the database. So, database is something like where we store the main information, confidential information, whatever the data we see in the front end, those data would be coming from the database. So, like SQL injection would create a threat to the database of that particular organization. Next, we have the birthday attack, which is based on cryptography, where like permutation and combination is used to identify the birthday, like some algorithm sort of thing is used to identify the risk. So it is very much important that you use some main techniques like cryptography. So these are the threats that you can face based on different types of attacks which can be launched. And here comes into picture a cyber expert who will try to put his knowledge and try to prevent us from having these attacks. Next, we'll look into the history of cybercrime. So late in the 1980s, we had the cybercrime which happened in the MNC database of Pentagon and IBM. So then it was in 1990s where the national crackdown happened, and then the Microsoft's NT operating system was being pierced. So it is this time in the 80s when all this hacking started. So next we'll move on to the next scenario, where in 2001 the cyber criminals they launched attack against companies like eBay, Yahoo, CNN.com, Amazon, and others. In 2007, the main Swedish bank where Nordea, it was recorded around 1 million customers had their amount was being stolen in 3 months from 250 accounts. Then in 2013, Adobe's 2.9 million accounts were being compromised and stolen on open internet. One of the major leading antivirus software company known as Kaspersky, they had recorded some 758 million malicious attacks, which they identified themselves. So this was a major one by a antivirus company. So now let us see some of the famous names in cybersecurity. It was in 1988 that Robert T. Morris, he was a American computer scientist and an entrepreneur, and he was known for creating a Morris worm. It was the first internet worm which was identified by then. Then later on, it was Kevin Lee in 1990 who was accused of hacking the telephone lines of KIIS FM and Los Angeles. He was accused of hacking a radio station called KIIS FM, where there was a contest going on, and if you answer the if you answer a particular question, you would be gifted a huge amount. So he hacked those telephone lines, ensuring that he would be the person who would answer the question correctly, and he would get the amount. But later it was revealed that he was a person who was doing this activity, and he was being jailed for it. The next person in 1999 was David L. Smith, who created the Melissa virus, and it was released. And this Melissa virus was a macro-based virus which affected the Microsoft Outlook and also the Word-based files. And then in 2004, it was Adam Botley. He was a computer hacker from Michigan who gained unauthorized access to corporate network via a open, unsecure wireless access points. So he gained access to the computer networks, and also he installed the software which could help him to capture some major credit card information of that particular organization which belongs to different type of customers. So this was later identified, and even he was prosecuted for that crime. So these are the major famous names in cybersecurity. Kevin Lee was the first person who was first prosecuted for the crime, and he was banned from using computer and internet for almost 3 years after his release from the jail. Now let us look at how cybersecurity works. So the first one is to having a two-way authentication. So it's all about securing your computer. Like there are various methodologies, factors which comes into picture, how we are going to secure your computer. So authentication is the main part where you're going to identify a person or authorize a person. authorizing a person by some controls or authenticating that person to ensure that the person is the same person who is trying to access that particular data. So to start off with, any authentication, maybe Gmail or something, will be, or Facebook will be having a username and a password. So a username will identify who the person who is going to access that particular application, and a password is sort of one-way authentication to prove that that particular person is trying to log into the application. Hence, authentication mechanism has to be a two-way mechanism where once you log into that particular application, you get a OTP, OTP to your device, so that it is a second way of authorizing that you are the person who is authorizing, who is logging into that particular application. So OTP will be an auto-generated one, which is being sent from the server to our device, and we will be authorizing it. So it is always good to ensure that whenever you log into any particular application, you have a two-way authentication. The next one is having a secure password. So a secure password is very important. So you should not just have a plain password. You should have a strong password, as mentioned in the like they mentioned, like we should have caps, small letters, and then we should have the special characters and the minimum length. So we should have a secure password so that unauthorized access is not being done. Then we have the regular updates. So regular update for the operating system is very much essential. So whenever we get some updates on the regular updates on the operating system, we should ensure that we update our computer on a regular basis. And even if we have installed some particular application, we will be getting some notifications where we need to update those particular applications. It's important to update those applications, especially this antivirus and all will be getting regular updates. So it's very essential we do the updates, so in order to secure our computer, so that whenever some new vulnerabilities are found out, software vendors are providing us updates called patches, which has to be applied. So it is important for the end users to update these patches and install them on their computers as soon as possible, else it will create some open vulnerabilities and the person can hack your computer. Next is the antivirus. So some worms, trojans that needs to be removed from the computer. So like the antivirus, it is a software which will help you watch out for these sort of malwares, and it will protect your files that are getting executed at the background in a illegitimate way. Next, we have the firewall. Installing a firewall is very important. If a firewall can be a hardware or a software, and that will have some basic functionality. Like if we have a particular port number, so the port number can be opened or closed. So or a particular service can be open or closed for a computer network. So thus disabling this unwanted services in computer. If service is not exist on a computer, it cannot be hacked. So first we need to identify which ports has to be used, and the other ports which are not used by us, those ports has to be closed. So with these ports we will be using when we will be developing some web applications. So we'll have multiple ports. So only the ports which we'll be using will keep it open. The rest of the ports will keep it closed. And the same follows for services as well. And so by this we need to create some service or policy on the firewall to ensure that only required ports and services are being used or run on our application. Then no phishing. So we may daily see some scenarios where we'll be getting some spam emails to click on a particular ad or to click on a link where it looks to be legitimate, and we try to we believe it and we click on those links. So we should try to avoid such emails. Like in IT sector, we have a particular group which handles this particular phishing mails. We have the information security groups where whenever such emails comes, we inform to the ISG team, and they take care of all such phishing mails. So it's better you don't click on such links, suspicious links, and you protect yourself and your sensitive information. Or we can also have some anti-phishing tools which can identify these websites. and this will prevent you from visiting such websites, and it will notify you that this is some suspicious website. Next, we have the cryptography or the encryption. We have to ensure that the data is encrypted. So, however, encryptions are required. What should be, and we need to know what should be encrypted, how it should be encrypted, and how it will function. And this will add some business value to our customers as well. And now some knowledge is required, like what sort of protocols need to be applied or consumed, and what data needs to be protected, how valuable the data is for your organization or for your clients. So we need to add some encryption or cryptography techniques to prevent the attacks happening from the hackers. Next is securing the DNS servers. So DNS servers is like we have some index which maps the particular domain name to the IP address. So internet which do not have a domain names, they can be identified by the IP address or their MAC address, like example google.com. So the computers, they send these packets to the DNS server, where the packets it goes to the server and can be changed, and it can be pointed to malicious server. So we have to secure this DNS server so that it cannot be, the data packets cannot be hacked. Now, let's understand who is a cybersecurity expert. A cybersecurity expert is an individual who is employed by an organization in order to protect their data. So, he is a person who will identify the potential flaws, threats the organization faces, and then he'll streamline the methodology which protects all the assets of that particular organization. Now they can do this through variety of techniques, that is by finding weaknesses. Well, they'll try to find the weakness through some vulnerability scan. They will identify the potential flaws in the organization infrastructure, like the infrastructure could be the network or the different servers which are connected to the network, the operating system which is being installed on that particular machine, or the network based flaws like the firewalls and all that. So they might find such weaknesses and they might try to hack it. So the cybersecurity expert has to identify such threats. Then it's very much essential to monitor the systems to check if there's something malicious happening in the network, and identify it. So we also need to identify, need to identify the network breach, and take accordingly some measures to safeguard those. So after finding the weakness, they repair and they strengthen the areas where the attack might have occurred. Now, let us discuss about the different domains in cybersecurity. The first one is the asset security. An asset may be something like a computer, a network device, the router, wireless operating system. So all these comes under assets. So it can be anything. So protecting any of these assets is the main concern. The function. It is important to look at the security of each and every asset that the organization will own. Next, we have the security architecture and engineering. Here, we need to ensure that the security is taken care for a long period of time and it is consistent. Like if we install some particular antivirus, we have to ensure that the same antivirus is being installed on all the machines. Like we have a particular company, it should make sure that if a particular antivirus is installed on a machine, it has to be installed on all the machines. We cannot install different antivirus on different machines. So we have to create some policies and procedures, and we have to standardize them for our security measures to ensure that the security is carried out across the entire organization. And then the next one we have is communication and network security. So for network security, we can consider as cloud security. So we have multiple applications which have a cloud security, like the Amazon Web Services, Azure Data Cloud. So all these data which is flowing through into the cloud these days needs to be protected. So since it is being transmitted across the network, we have to protect it. Thus, we have to create some path to ensure that these parts are monitored properly, they are regulated properly, and we do not have any data leakage. Identity and access management. In identity and access management, we need to access, like, who is accessing my data. Are they the authorized users who are accessing the data, or the unauthorized users? So we have to make sure that only the authorized users are accessing our data, and we have to provide some authentication mechanisms. We need to track them, know how to hold them accountable for what they have to. So if a person is authorized, they have to hold accountable for that particular activity, so that we can identify that particular change. So this we can do by creating some groups or policies or rules, and interlinking them with the different assets, so we ensure that only authorized people can access these devices. Next, we have the security operations, where internal operations can track these attack and investigate this, and take particular actions. So the security operations can be the security concerns for particular financial related company, or for that matter any company. So just now we saw an example, how in Google Cloud they have the 6 layers of security operations. So we have to ensure that at each and every level we have some sort of security, so that there is no security breach happening. Security assessment and testing. So we have to make sure that we have a assessment happening on the application. Like, for example, if we are software we have a software application, we check if that particular security assessment is being happened, and we test that particular application before it is made available to the customers. So this is very important. Software development security. So software development security will be like, as I explained before, after developing any web application or application, normal application, standalone application, we have to make sure that we scan that particular application using the security tools. And if there are any flaws in the particular application, then we have to fix those, and then make it available to the customer, so that there is no loss to the company, and even there's no theft of the confidential data in the public. So organization who is going to develop and sell that software to the end users, security becomes a main concern here. So end users who are going to ask what kind of security testing has to be done, that brings into the SDLC life cycle, like how to create, how to ensure that the code is secure, and we need to follow some certain coding practices called as OSAWP. Next, we have the security and risk management, where we need to identify the risk, how it will affect and mitigate, what sort of risk, what are the different aspects. So we need to take care of all these factors. So these are the takeaways of the what are the advantages, what is CR, what are the threats to CR, what are the motives behind cybercrime, what are the type of hackers, who is a cybersecurity expert. So these are the main concepts we discussed in this information, in this presentation. So the main conclusion is, like, you need not be a cybersecurity expert to take care of your personal sensitive information. You just have to ensure that you protect your information by having some antivirus on your machine, do some regular updates, don't access some unconfidential data. So, like, these are the basic things you can try the beginning to ensure that your data is secure. So by this, I end this presentation. Thank you. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dear participants, Ashwini ma'am, am I audible for you?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So dear participants, if you have any queries, you can please ask or post in the chat box. Ma'am, there's a question from Rakshit HS that how secure that this Zoom meetings. Ashwini ma'am, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Ma'am, there's one question in the chat box
Okay.
that how secure is this Zoom meeting apps and all?
Okay, like any app which is being developed by a particular company, they will have their own security architecture sort of things. Like they will have some like during development phase itself, they'll have some encryption mechanisms where they can secure their particular application. So like all these security aspects will be handled by the before they release it to the particular customers. They ensure that they protect all their data, like maybe the video, audio, whatever we are sharing the data. They make sure that they encrypt all these data.
Any more questions? Ma'am, there's another question was there. I think it's not posted there. The question is that a lot of new applications are coming for, as you mentioned, for retail applications and all. So while we are entering data, so a lot of data transferring is actually happening there. So how can you ensure such data is not used for any other purposes? Is as a customer, as a client, can we secure such things?
Hello. Yeah, like as I mentioned, like any application before delivering to the clients, we make sure that we follow all the security measures. Like we scan that particular application for all the security measures. Like we have different tools used to identify those threats. Like even we do a scanning at the code level, and once we make it available to the customer, even after making it available to customer, we have something like open web application testing, where the urls and all are being taken, and then we see like if a person can can hack that particular url, something like such sort of things we do. And we identify those, and we will have a separate team for that, for scanning the code, or for scanning the application. So they will have their different sort of tools. They will apply those tools, and then they will fix it. So all whatever types of attacks are being mentioned, we try to follow all those standards. Like we have something called as OWSP, where follow those standards as mentioned there, and we follow these rules. So
Ma'am, is there
based
any
on that,
provision to verify that such apps are verified or something? They are following the standards. Is
yeah,
there any
we
provision?
now we are using HP's Fortify tool. So this Fortify tool, it will scan the code and it'll list on all the this one vulnerabilities which are there. So based on that, we will fix it, and then again we'll rescan it. We'll do the rescanning until all the issues are resolved. And if it is a very low sort of a risk, then we don't consider it. Only the severity and high risks are being accessed. And even the URLs and all, if a hacker tried to access the URL, so like even for the URL things, like we have some encryption methods where we can include it in the URLs. So we perform this web security testing also on that particular application, not just at the code level.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, any other questions?
No, sir.
Ma'am, as a customer, what all things has to be ensured before using these applications or before using a third party applications in a phone, in a laptops, etc.? Can you mention some few?
Like for developing a thing or for using any application?
Using an application.
Using any application, uh, at a high level, like we won't be able to identify, but usually majority of applications, they ensure that they provide a security for those particular application. And we have a few websites where we can check for those vulnerabilities. If it is some websites, you can check for those websites in that particular site and identify if it is having a threat or not. I think we have something called as netcraft.com. One second, I'll see if I can.
Ma'am, and cross. It was not
One
clear, ma'am.
second. So we have a website here called something called as netcraft.com. So here they have the tools to protect your brands and customers. So here we can check for our websites if it is secure or not. Uh,
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So I think there's
yeah,
no more.
here we can mention our website, like we can mention, like for example amazon.com, we can mention our website, and that will give us all the details about that particular website. And if we have some fake sites and all, it will mention those sites. If it has some cross-site screen script, so all those details it will give if you mention your particular application. So it will mention the risk rating, the site report and all that. Like example here, if you have some site like this is a site, then it will give you all the details of that particular site. What is the risk rating, everything you will get to know. So they provide security for the browsers, applications and all. If you can come and check here as well. So this is one of the SiteNet craft. If I have some fake ads and all, it'll show here. So their main concern is protection, cybercrime protection.
Oh, okay.
You can go through this particular website, yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think there are no more queries from the participants. Okay. So we shall wind up the sessions. So on behalf of
Yeah, okay.
Department of Mechanical Engineering and Teaching College Engineering, I heartily thank Ms. Ashwini ma'am for giving a wonderful sessions, a very short session, but it's very informative. Thank you so much, sir, and so much, ma'am, for being with us for this session. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So participants, we'll be having the next session by 2 o'clock. So all are requested to join by 1:50 p.m. Okay.